It's the 10 to 1 podcast with your host, Brad Oman, featuring Ben Konowitz and Nate Loucks. And here's the podcast.
All right, dumb nuts.
Hey, the podcast is here. If it sounds weird, it's because
We're in a new studio.
Yeah, we're in a new studio. I'm not even sure studio is the best word for it. Like
Wow. How much did you do to set this studio up?
a house pit is probably like the best way to describe it.
Jesus.
This is wonderful. I don't know what you're talking about.
A makeshift sex dungeon.
We literally have a fireplace in front of us.
Is the fire lit, Nate?
No, it is
It's
like
hot. It's warm
80
down here.
degrees down here. So no, it's
Yeah.
not. But it is great.
It's also not 80 degrees. You guys, this is my house, and you're both barrels right now. Well, it's also 80 degrees down here in a sex dungeon. Okay, you know what? We don't need to do it down here. Let's move it to your house.
To be fair, we came over here. Nate's table wasn't here.
Oh my God.
I don't have the right cord. My microphone, whatever this called, the foam part is called, it's not the same part I had before because it's not as nice.
I moved everything over today. I did the cables. I undid all the rat's nest of everything.
This would be like if they moved Saturday Night Live into an old bar.
Thanks, man. It is a nice house that we're trying to make our own, and moving in with my girlfriend and her kids has been the dream of my life. But you can keep talking about how this is bad.
Hey, to be fair, upstairs is awesome. I love it up there.
Yeah. Thanks for doubling down.
I think he's saying he wants to do the podcast in your living room.
Yeah. To be fair, we're moving up there next week. Tough shit, kids.
I like this. Hey, I like this. This is nice. You know what we have here? In our old podcast area, we all had our own couches. And now we went from 4 couches down to 2 couches.
Well, to be fair, that's going to change once we get the
now
real.
that Nate and I can hold hands.
Oh, no.
Yeah, buddy.
Benny and I get to hold hands
we're
while
we're not
doing
going
the
anywhere,
podcast.
bud.
It's staying this way.
Wow.
This is how we share protein strains this way.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't sound good.
That's like, it's a Simpsons joke. You get it?
Yeah, but it doesn't sound good when you say it like that.
All right, human. Hey, we had an election.
Boy, did we.
And then guess what happened? Bill Burr decided he's going to host.
The inevitable task.
And he's not going to do anything to make us feel better.
Not even a little bit. This was a weird episode of SNL.
It really was. Unfortunately, you could tell that the
No one cares.
writers and the cast really had the wind sucked out of their sails. And you can't blame them, really, because the election was on Tuesday, and Tuesday is like the writing night, basically, you know? So that's tough. And I'm sure it didn't make things easier when they got the bad news that we all got and are still dealing with and will be dealing with for the next.
I mean, you guys. You guys got the bad news.
Oh boy. But yeah, I think that it was clear that they were struggling a little bit. Part of me wonders if it had gone the other way, if the episode would have been better, or if it still would have just been difficult. Because some of the blame, I think, does fall on Bill Burr. And we'll talk about that once we get into the individual sketches. But yeah, I don't know.
Sure.
You didn't like Bill Burr, huh?
It's not that I didn't like Bill Burr. It's just that he was worse this time than he was his first time. And I think in all arenas, actually. So, but we'll dig into that as we get into the episode. Nate, do you want to start things off?
I suppose. All right.
Do the honors.
SNL for Trump cold opening the cast of SNL. With Bowen Yang, Elgo Wodum, Kenan Thompson, Heidi Gardner, Marcelo Hernandez, Sarah Sherman, and Colin Jost, says that they supported Trump all along. It also features James Austin Johnson as Donald Trump, Ashley Padilla, Emil Wachim, and Jane Wickline. There's also a cameo by longtime former cast member Dana Carvey, who made the cut, who's still here because everyone else
He was supposed to go home, but he
went home.
Yeah, he's not ready.
I feel like no one told him to leave. And he was like, well,
hey, Dana.
Hey, Dana, what do you still... I'm being told he didn't get the memo, sir. What can we have him do? How about just a really not great Elon Musk impersonation?
I did see something that someone tweeted, though, that was actually pretty funny and would be a really good way of dealing with it, is whoever plays Elon at any given time, just have them always do just a half-ass impression, because, like, who gives a fuck? Like, just have someone play him like just a complete douche nozzle with a weird accent every time.
It was very weird to just see him as the only kind of holdover from all the guest stars. Wasn't it? a little weird.
Yeah, I mean, I do wonder if like he was around just because they thought they might need Biden,
Sure.
and and they probably didn't want to use Maya under the circumstances. So maybe he was still around,
And that's fair. I mean, he's probably doing him a favor, so whatever. But still, it's like okay. So it's rare that the cold open is one of my favorite parts of the night.
I thought this was
But this was great.
fantastic way of handling it.
It was solid. It was nice that they didn't take the serious dramatic reaction,
Which we all thought.
like when they had Kate McKinnon sing Hallelujah as Hillary Clinton.
Dumb. Yep.
Yeah, I mean it was fine in the moment, but
It wasn't.
later it felt like it was like maybe too much.
You're just a comedy show, and this is not necessarily.
No, it is.
The world's not ending.
It is one of those things where you look back and you're like, that was a little bit more cringe.
Little
than we
cringy.
thought. Yeah.
It was pretty shitty though.
I mean, sure, but again, is it world ending? No, we're gonna get through this.
We'll see.
Wow. Well, you know what? Brad's moving back to Puerto Rico.
I wish I lived in Puerto Rico.
No, you don't.
I don't know. Have you been there?
Gorgeous.
Yeah, bikinis.
Is it?
Yeah, lots of very beautiful people.
Yeah.
I'm just jealous, actually. That comes from a point of just being a fat white guy.
Okay, Tony Hinchcliffe.
Ew. Is that what his name is?
Yeah,
No, the comedian, the
comedian.
the garbage guy.
No. Yeah, I knew his name was Tony. Is it really Heathcliff?
Hinchcliffe.
No, I'm calling him Heathcliff from now on. The worst Garfield.
Don't insult
The worst
that
Garfield.
cool cat.
We got off task here. The cold open was very good. I'm glad that they did it the way that they did it. I liked jacked Trump. That was a fun thing.
And honestly, I hope this is something that they lean into as we get another 4 years of this bullshit.
Getting Donald Trump correctly?
Doing the absurd,
Right.
like making it more absurd.
Exactly.
Because that's what's missing. It's like it's already ridiculous, so like you have to take it to another level. And doing that like weird jacked Trump, like if you portray him as like the fucking god meme that they think he is, and like all the stupid AI pictures of him looking like a superhero, just lean into that stupid shit and just like turn him into a bigger parody than he already is.
What level? Maybe this is too serious for this podcast, but like, what level do you think political satire, like SNL, because sketch comedy is kind of like and SNL is like 100 years ago when they did comics or drawings in the newspaper, right, about political satire and things like this. What role do you think this plays in our culture? Obviously, I think a lot of people were surprised by the election results, right? And a lot of people are like, oh, Trump's so weird. And we've even had this conversation here. It's hard to parody Trump, right? Because he's so bizarre. He's so over the top already. And SNL, when they were doing it, was just pretty much doing all the same things he did regularly.
Yeah.
And they were just doing a good impression of the regular stuff.
And they would just say something that was like slightly off and like still saying what he said, but like with an added layer.
So
to
what
it.
role do you think SNL as a political satire vehicle has in our current cultural landscape? Does it? Or should they just stay away from it and do, non-political stuff?
They'll never stay away from it.
They'll never stay
It's
away.
at this point, it's become a tradition that the cold open is pretty much almost always something from the headlines, whether it's doing a pundit show on CNN or MSNBC or Fox News.
We always love when they take the political cold open stuff and they move it to a different venue, right? So you can take these characters because that's what they are at that point. You're trying to make a parody, right? So you're taking these real people, you're making them characters, like Tina Fey made Sarah Palin a character, but nowadays you have to take them out of, it's a town hall and we see a town hall. It's a debate, we see a debate. But I want to see them afterwards, like talking about the debate, or I want to see them on a game show or something. It's not necessarily that it's easy to show these people exactly as they were, but I don't want to call it lazy. It's just that they think that by showing exactly what happened and like using a few different words, it's going to be parody, but it's not exaggerated enough. Like Brad, you've said this multiple times. It's just not exaggerated enough.
Yeah,
it
it's
becomes
like
also a little bit of a political circle joke where it's just like we're all laughing, but
we're laughing at the stuff that was already funny because it was stupid to begin
exactly.
with.
But it's not creatively funny, or it's not doing what great political satire does and make us think about something in a different way.
And granted, it's you do have to give them credit to a certain extent because it is something that is written
Unparodiable.
Well, that, but also they're writing in such a truncated window.
Right.
And some of the most brilliant political satire hasn't been written in a single day. You know, you need time to hone it, to polish it. And
Also, back in 2000, when was McCain? It was 2008 with Obama, right? So even in 2008, I can see Russia from My House was not what she said, right? But it was close enough where there was still parody there. And that was a strategery from George Bush. That he never said that, but it was
George W. Bush himself thought he actually said strategery because that was such a.
He defended saying, "No, I said that."
But these days, and I'm going to just say it, Trump himself says so many weird things that it's beyond the pale now. You can't actually discern what's parody and not.
Yeah.
Whereas even with Sarah Palin, how misinformed and how uneducated she really was, she never said something like that truly outlandish.
Yeah.
And so it was quote unquote easy to parody that because you can just kind of slam a few words together. Now, if SNL slams a few words together, it's no different than what Donald Trump actually said. And that's the difference.
It's just, I was thinking about that. What all needs to change, right? Especially in light of this was not an even close win, right? Trump won handily, and
calm down.
He did. He won very, very significantly.
Yeah, he won every swing state by multiple votes, which just, I don't know. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but what about those voting machines now?
But I was just wondering, like, what needs to get through to break through to over half of America, right? That the silliness or the insaneness and the over the topness doesn't seem to. We're laughing, but they're not.
Right.
And I don't know. I was just thinking about political satire as a whole is just not working. It's not making people think differently.
No, not at all. And so to your point, back in the day, you had political cartoons that were poking fun of the candidate, making them bombastic, and wow, that's what this guy or gal is saying, and here's the exaggerated version of it. Yeah. And if you take it that way, you would realize how bad it is for this country. Yeah. And now you're taking something that's so exaggerated already. Yeah. You put maybe 4% more on it. And there's no more level of like, oh, look at how outlandish this is. You can't make it more outlandish.
Yeah, exactly.
That's hard to do.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just interested to see if they're having these conversations as well.
They have
to see what kind of,
Where do you go from here?
I mean, it's one thing to say, did we do the right thing with letting Trump host in 2015 or 2016? Probably not.
No.
But
they did not do the right thing.
Or
at
Elon
all.
Musk. Honestly, he hosted too. But how is our... Maybe that's the better question is should comedy influence people? Should you want to influence people through comedy, or you just do the funny thing and say...
Not by default. Like, I mean, I think it can. I don't think anyone ever wants to set out with a goal of, like, I'm going to make comedy that influences people. If you do that, you're kind of full of yourself.
But also, like, the comic that I looked at the most that maybe influenced people by just being funny was George Carlin.
Yeah.
Right? He was a soapbox comedian more than most, but he was so fucking funny about it that you didn't have a choice but to laugh your ass off. And then honestly, on the way home, you really started thinking about what he was talking about. Like, that's incredible.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of thoughtful, the Hassan Minhaj kind of comedians that are making political satire. Or
when he's not making stuff up.
Commentary.
Oh, I didn't hear about this.
Oh, you didn't hear about that a while back?
Simon just made things up.
Story.
Manufactured a whole story that didn't actually happen to him.
Yikes.
Which on some level, like, who cares? Because like I'm sure plenty of people do that, but
not if you're doing that type of comedy.
Yeah, exactly. It's that specific type of comedy, and what he did that was like.
A lady came up to me at the grocery store and said this, and that's part of the bit. You made that up. It's still a funny story. That's fine.
Right.
But when a leader or something like that,
exactly.
That's very different.
But no, I think that the other issue you have.
Wait, do I still like Hassan Minhaj or not?
He's fine.
It's fine.
But, okay.
The other issue you have is that you don't necessarily want to, like, it's fine if comedy is influential, and it's kind of if your comedy wants to say something. Like, think about Cecily Strong's bit as was Goober the Clown. Yeah, from Weekend Update, which was a whole bit about abortion that was hilarious, but also meaningful. Like, you can do that, and it's good when it happens, and it's good when it works, but not every bit of comedy has to be that,
right. And honestly, not most of them should not be.
Right.
You have to develop Like, in my opinion, you have to develop a rapport with your audience so much so that, like, this is a hilarious person, and then every once in a while they hit me with something that really makes me think on a show like SNL. Now, if you are a divisive and political comedian in the first place, like Louis Black, he's trying to make you think, but also trying to be funny, right? And that's fine too. You can't always set out as a sketch show on Saturday night from the 70s who's now in 2024 and say we're going to change people's minds. That's not the goal anymore. It is to be the progressive, lambasting of all sides. So they do a decent job of like Weekend Update. Even this time made fun of Democrats as much as they did Republicans. They really are pretty good, even though they very much skew liberal, about taking Democrats to task and Republicans at the same time. We just live in a world where the Republicans seem to say things that are just a lot more weird than liberals.
No, and that was one thing I did appreciate about Dana Carvey's.
They have a bigger target on their fat white asses.
I liked Dana Carvey's impression of Joe Biden because it poked fun at him.
Absolutely,
right?
and it was real.
It was
that was like he's a doddering old man that doesn't need to be in that position anymore, and they weren't pulling any punches there, and that was great.
Yep.
Well, this is gonna be a 9-hour podcast.
All right, let's move on. Stand-up monologue by Bill Burr, returning to host SNL for the second time. Legendary comedian and actor Bill Burr does stand-up about the outcome of the 2024 presidential election, catching the flu and Shaquille O'Neal's credibility, as well as the possible next virus in the election, including advice on how women can win in politics next time, about Trump getting shot and when he went to McDonald's. Let me say this. I am a huge fan of Bill Burr. I love Bill Burr. I think he's one of the greatest alive right now. And he's hilarious. This was a disappointing set for me. Not because of anything he said. It just felt disjointed to me as a stand-up bit.
Yeah.
It didn't have... I've seen Bill Burr be brilliant. This felt like Bill Burr's Monday morning podcast bits that he does just on that Saturday Night Live. Right.
Yeah, this seemed like he was working through material that he hasn't fully polished yet, hasn't fully honed. It definitely was not up to snuff as to what I normally expect from Bill Burr.
So there's two schools of thought here. I talked to Ashley about this. We watched it together, and I said this is either Bill Burr doing the Monday morning podcast, I think, where he's just kind of all over the place because his thought process was, if I come out and talk about the election immediately, like that's not what I want to do. I want to like be like, hey, let's do something different. And then that's the funny part is now I'm going to actually talk about it, and then I'll end with something silly as well. So it's a sandwich, right? You can either do that.
That was one of his funniest bits, right? Where he's like, now I'm going to talk about
right. And that was great. The other part about this is Bill Burr is legendary for being an hour and a half comedian, right? So he will win you back after 45 minutes, and then now it's uproarious. Truncating that to 11 minutes, whatever it was, 8 minutes. That's not really
seem as long as it usually is for a stand-up.
That's not really what Bill Burr does, right? He's not a 5-minute tight set guy. So these are a lot of setups and things that he could talk about, which then in a special 45 minutes later, he can do callbacks and he can get you back on his side. But saying that the Democratic women need to whore it up a bit, he can't walk that back 6 minutes later. It's just not going to work.
Also, why would you walk it back?
Well, again, like that's the thing. Like he's good at, right? He can inflame you, and then he can win you back over. That's literally what he's famous for. Yeah. So this was the insensitive flaming stuff, but he never had an opportunity to walk it back because it's a 7-minute opening monologue to Saturday Night Live. I don't know if SNL just was like, you know what, we're not going to vet this one. Just go ahead and do whatever you want. Because normally you have to really run that by everybody what you're doing. This seemed like nobody knew what he was going to say, and they just kind of let him have that time. And this is what he did with it. It was weird.
I'd be curious as to whether or not they actually police the material that someone like Bill Burr, Nate Bargatze, Dave Chappelle.
I think that they are going to listen to it once.
You think they're gonna have him do it?
Absolutely.
Right?
Maybe. I don't know.
There's no way it's just like, here's 11 minutes, do whatever you want.
Well, but the thing is like, you're Lorne Michaels.
I'm not.
You know what you're getting when you're booking a comedian like that. You know why you're booking a comedian like that. You trust that Bill Burr is somebody who has a wealth of material that he can do, and so maybe you don't need to hear it. Maybe I'd really be curious as to whether or not he has to figure out his full set and like talk to the producers,
and that's
whether
fair.
it's Lawrence or something like that before the show.
Clearly, he didn't have to this time. Either way,
maybe
because this was not great.
But even then though, that would stand to reason that like bad sketches make it through to SNL all the
Sure,
time.
sure.
So you never know until you know. Maybe the audience was cold. Maybe
Yeah,
but, like
that's fair.
I don't think the material was particularly good. Honestly,
No, exactly.
to begin with, but
it wasn't very good.
Yeah,
No, his like there was one joke that he made that I thought he was going to turn around. Like you said, he can turn things around on you. He can make you think he's going one way and then goes another way. Shane Gillis has this about him a little bit as well, but like Bill Burr's incredibly skilled. But the whole thing about Asia and COVID or disease, I was waiting for him to turn that.
Waiting for him not to be a piece of shit about it, but he just leaned into it. I was like, "What is this?"
It was like
so weird.
It was like he
it's
just.
the Wuhan flu.
It's just like he gave up on the bit,
Exactly.
right? Because I've listened to so much Bill Burr. He's not that guy.
It's it's Chinese people, right? They're gonna get sick. Okay, Rogan, what are we doing here? Like that was just weird to me.
He just calls it like he sees it, man.
I'm just asking questions. Yeah,
All
weird,
right.
weird.
Moving on, Rorschach Test, written by Stephen Castillo, Dan Bullock, Ben Marshall, Martin Herlihy, and John Higgins. Firefighters, played by Bill Burr, Emil Wachim, Marcelo Hernandez, and Andrew Dismukes, look at photos of different things, while one, played by Bill Burr, sees weird drawings of cartoon characters. This also has James Austin Johnson and Heidi Gardner. What'd you guys think of this one?
I am curious as to whether they're going to get in trouble
For the Elsa thing?
for all of it.
That
Honestly,
was really the Mike Wazowski thing, right? Just showing his ass or whatever. That's whatever. But it was really aggressive to show like Elsa holding her boot. Like that was just really
it was
weird.
It was super inappropriate use of trademarked characters.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's covered under the
Parody
parody
law,
part of of copyright law, but still, like I'm
It's
sure
aggressive.
I'm sure Disney's not happy about it.
No, not at all. So this is clearly an excuse to just show those images, right? It could have been anything that they could have done. They were like, it would be really funny if we could somehow show very sexualized images of Disney
Yeah.
stuff. They chose this vehicle, and I'm sure they chose it because, like most sketches tonight that we'll see, it's a Bill Burr type thing where you don't need therapy, and he's a very man's man, and he's against all the stuff, all the feely bullshit. So they did that a lot tonight, and it was whatever. Like I laughed at the images and nothing else.
Yeah, I mean it was a funny premise, and it works because I think it would have been funny if they didn't have the images, even like if he just described what he saw and there's still the ink blot.
That's actually really funny too. If they show everyone the ink blot, we see it
Yeah.
as the audience, and he's like, "Well, it's Mike Wazowski from Monsters Incorporated wearing a thong on his wedding night, about to get it."
Yeah, but seeing the image itself did add a different layer of comedy because those
I
are
laughed.
just weird images
I
to
laughed.
see,
But that is what became the funny thing in it, though.
Yeah,
Is the image.
and I did love the realization at the end too. Where I was like, wait a minute. There's somebody else in the room. It's Mike Wazowski. He's in the back, And if you look at the details of that last image with Bandit from Bluey Chew, there's a lot of stuff in that image. There's like a case of Four Loko on the dresser. There's drugs on the bed.
So you told me I should rewatch the music video from Dan Bulla in the first whoever.
Oh, Ariana Grande is my best friend's house.
And so because there's so many Easter eggs to rewatch, so Dan Bulla wrote this. So they're with Stephen Castillo and the boys from Please Don't Destroy, but that's the level of Easter eggs that I feel like Dan Bulla is responsible for.
No, it makes perfect sense. But yeah, otherwise, like I thought the sketch was amusing, and yeah, it was good.
Not great, but like I still definitely laughed at the imagery.
And I appreciated the concept. The concept was fine. All right, moving on. Buffalo Wild Wings, written by Ali Levitan and Sam Miner. A commercial advertises Buffalo Wild Wings. It's somewhat of a sequel to the Samuel Adams kind of Jacko Pumpkin.
Oh, it's actually a full-on sequel.
Commercial from Burr's last hosting stint, featuring Bill Burr, Marcelo Hernandez, Devin Walker, Emil Wachim, Heidi Gardner, Mikey Day, and Ashley Padilla. Yeah. So this was the third kind of the second commercial
Yeah.
we talked about last week.
Yeah, Ben thought the Casey Affleck one was a
Casey
Bill
Affleck.
Burr. Yeah.
This is the second one. What did you
Calm
think?
down.
What did you think of
admit your
this
mistakes.
one
I'm sorry.
compared to the Pumpkin Ale?
It's not as good as Pumpkin Ale, and I rewatched Pumpkin Ale to make sure that was an accurate
Oh, yeah.
reading.
And it's not as good as Duncan because Duncan's the best one.
Yeah, Duncan's hilarious, but it was still good. I mean, it's Burr, being a New England Patriot fan who's a bit of a dick and complaining about stuff. It's the the going back and forth between the like Buffalo Wild Wings, like, yeah, my fucking wife, and like that's really funny.
It is,
and the dynamic between him and Mikey Day still works.
That juxtaposition is never not going to work,
Yeah.
right? Like having a real corporate message and then have a real Bostonian played by a piece of shit Bill Burr. He's really good at it.
He's great.
And then Mikey Day's character is phenomenal as well. I also love that somebody's always got a cast. Always.
So that's what was great about rewatching Sam Adams is Bill Burr's character is wearing a cast in the first one too. So that's so good.
Yeah. No, I'm always and we talked. Will this come back? We're hoping it did.
Yeah,
you're right. It's lightning in a bottle. First couple, maybe the first time, and then it's harder to do it.
Still funny though.
It's still very funny.
Yeah,
because we know guys at Buffalo Wild Wings like this. So.
Ben.
All right, Sex Rock CD, written by Mike DeCenzo, James Austin Johnson, Sari Sherman, and Andrew Dismukes. A father, played by Bill Burr, shows his son, Emil Wachim, some songs from the rock group Snakeskin, played by James Austin Johnson, Andrew Dismukes, and Sarah Sherman. This was so dumb, but I laughed.
So the Snakeskin stuff
is funny.
Bill Burr tripping over every fucking line in the sketch, and delivering it in the worst way possible.
Yeah, he struggled in this, and I'm really not sure because he didn't have a lot of heavy lifting either.
Yeah,
I don't know if this was just like a last minute addition or it had to been. I mean, it was quite a bit of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know what the issue was, but there clearly was an issue with Bill Burr delivering his lines here that would have made it so much better. I mean, he even held the CD upside down at the end, so like it was just all disjointed.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
But every time they cut to Snakeskin,
it was funny.
Was great, especially because James Austin Johnson has a great way of doing the like flirty laugh, but like metal.
Yeah.
Sarah Sherman, though, oh my God. Watching Sarah Sherman in this sketch is such a gift because the wild eyes.
Exactly.
With that hairstyle and that mustache. She looks wild.
Also, didn't have a terrible voice. like she's pulling this kind of 80s rock off.
The whatever the bass guitar that she's licking, like it was just so good.
You gotta lick the bass.
Was that a slap at the bass moment for you, Brad?
Slapping the bass.
Licking the bass?
I'm licking the bass.
Honestly, Snakeskin, cool. Burr, what are you doing? Like, I just don't know what happened there.
All right, moving on. The Janitor, written by Jake Nordwin, Andrew Dismukes, and Mike DeCenzo. Andrew Dismukes was a busy gentleman this episode. A janitor played by Michael Longfellow neglects to clean up barf due to working on a math problem.
Barf.
So this was strange to me because not the first time they've gone to like the Goodwill Hunting well or like
this was Michael Longfellow hunting.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know why. Like I'm asking why, right? Like who just recently rewatched Goodwill Hunting and was like, oh, I'm going to do this now. It was fine. I don't know. It just. I mean,
so for me, because I thought the same thing initially, and then I was like, "Oh, well, Good Will Hunting, very famous Boston movie."
Sure.
Bill Burr. Yeah, Bill Burr from Boston.
I'm gonna guess that's exactly what.
Yeah.
Let's figure out some things about Boston that he can do something about Boston in.
Yeah.
What do you think of? I think of Matt Damon. What do you think of? Okay,
Yeah. For me, I think the problem was that the premise never really went much beyond what you already expected. Like, okay, so the barf's gonna be there. Someone's gonna fall in that barf. And like, so you know those things. For me, the most interesting turn, the part where I was like, oh, I wish there was more of this, is when James Austin Johnson shows up as Robin Williams.
Sure. And he sounds,
he did great.
Yeah,
he did a great job of being Robin Williams in Good Will Hunting. Like it
might be a good impressionist.
But then it ends so abruptly with him just running through the barf again. It's like, oh, cool, the same joke again. Yeah. All right, that's fun.
It just. There's something there, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I think that this. If they had some more time, it might have been more successful.
Yeah, I didn't hate it. There was enough physical comedy for me to laugh as well. The barf thing made me laugh.
And even though there wasn't much escalation, they still did bring in new characters. Like the Dean comes in and he beats him with a belt, which I did laugh at a little bit.
Always makes me laugh anyway.
Sure,
but yeah, it wasn't perfect. It's just one of those sketches that was a fine sketch. But there was something better to be found. And we're idiots, but it felt like there was something better to be found somewhere in there.
Sure.
Because the outline was there. I just couldn't necessarily get to the
That's fair.
Peak. All right. Calling Dad. Two dads, played by Bill Burr, Kenan Thompson, discuss emotional things with their sons, played by Andrew Smukes and Devin Walker. but their dads disguise it as other things. This is the story of Neil Loucks and Tim Konowitz.
I was gonna say, Brad, you got to sit this one out, buddy. Brad just picked up his phone. He's texting. All right, so Nate, what did you think about this one? Because I will tell you, right at the end of it, the end of the sketch, where Andrew Speaks goes, "I love you, Dad," and Bill Burr goes, "Well, I'll let you go." Yeah. Like, I've heard that. I was in college. I heard that every single time. Like, it was either "I'll let you go" or like "Your mom wants to say something." And then he would just hand the phone off to her. I'd be like, "I love you," and he's like, "Your mom wants to say something."
Okay, here's a story for you guys. So, I introduced my girlfriend Evelini to my dad and my stepmother, my parents, and Evelini, she's a hugger, right? She likes to hug, and so she hugged my dad, and I looked at them. I'm like, well, that was weird to me, right? You hugged my dad. I can't tell you, even as a kid, I don't think I've ever hugged my father.
Again, for the listener, that is so just jarring to hear.
Yeah, I genuinely don't think I've ever hugged my dad.
I'm gonna hug your dad in front of you next time.
Yeah, and so this is what my girlfriend says. Or no, so I say, "Dad, you don't," and I'm joking with them. I'm like, "Dad, you don't even hug me." And my father looks at me and says, "Well, I would hug you if you would come in to hug me."
Oh, it's your fault.
It's your fault for not hugging.
Oh.
And so my girlfriend, since then, this is this summer, right?
It's like, when are you going to go in for the hug?
Yeah, it's like, well, your dad just wants you to hug him. I said, he's my dad. He should hug me, right? We're having this like
stalemate.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm not hugging my dad. My dad should hug me because I am afraid of the moment you just talked about. I'm gonna go in and he's just gonna probably like stand there or do a very awkward like I don't know.
Somehow this will be worse.
I don't
than
know
if I didn't
what
hug
to
him in the
do
first
with
place.
it. Yeah. So you know what? I'm okay with the hugs. I hug my own kids a lot, so I think I'm okay.
Yeah, you turn the corner on that. You're like, I'm gonna just do what my dad didn't do. I'm gonna hug the shit out of my kids.
My dad loved me.
Yeah, no, your dad loved you so much.
Yeah.
Did
and
your
honestly,
dad hug you?
Oh yeah, my dad hugged me all the time.
yeah, and honestly, my dad and I hug all the time now.
Now,
Like,
right.
yeah, we have.
But you've
such
had to do a lot of work there.
We had such a great relationship. Now, growing up, it was really tough, but we turned the corner. Which
but this was
means
resonant a little bit. then,
oh,
right?
absolutely. That was my childhood for sure. And especially because that felt like these are phone calls. And for me, phone calls happened in college. And that's absolutely what it would have been like. Just like, I just think that my car and your car might want to go see Poland sometime, because that's where we're from. That kind of thing.
I do think, though, that this is one of those situations where the sketch itself is sweeter than it is funny because there weren't a lot of like laugh out loud moments. I was expecting it to go in a different direction, actually.
Yeah, it almost felt like a Father's Day sketch.
Yeah, I was surprised like that it popped up here,
or it could have almost been like a holiday, like a Thanksgiving, like just
yeah.
But again, though, this
the
is
holidays, calling your family on the holidays.
This is the writers writing for Bill Burr.
Yeah, I think that's 100% right. I think my problem is just that it's almost a little too cutesy because they're doing the same thing with both dads, and
Sure.
so it just feels like it's
No,
sweet, but not like
they're,
laugh out loud.
they're
funny.
hitting the audience over the head with it, And honestly, there's not much more to do if there's not two, right? If it's just one, then that's a 1 minute sketch.
Yeah.
So.
All right, moving on. Let's get your phone out, Brad, and we're going to get your pedometer numbers there because we don't trust that you are actually being honest with those.
We know you're not. So the breadometer is was normally something we could rely on, and now it's like a drunk child at the weather desk saying like, "It's gonna rain meatballs." Nothing makes sense anymore.
Meatballs.
All right. So for those of you that have not watched this episode, the Weekend Update anchors Colin Jost and Michael Che tackle the week's biggest news, like Trump being reelected, all the politics stuff. They talk a little bit about P. Diddy. They talk about black students receiving text messages being selected to pick cotton. And then there's 2 Weekend Update bits, a woman who can't find things in her purse, played by Ego Wodum, and the return of Willie, played by Kenan Thompson, who is Michael Che's now ex-neighbor. So I've got to figure out what Brad thought about this episode. Again, it's broke.
Yeah, it's probably 107 because of the
fact that you think it's broke is just mean.
I feel like you're broke. And so
what do you think?
Don't I know it?
What do you think, Nate?
I'm going to go with 79.
Yeah, I'm going 84.
You guys are wrong.
What is it?
It's 80.
Did you know I was going to do that?
Yeah, I assumed.
So
you
we
were
had a little
going to.
technological glitch, and so we re-recorded this part, and I had said 74, and Nate said 78. So Nate goes 79 to make it a little bit closer, and I said 84 because I believe you did say 84.
I had 82.
Oh, damn it! I couldn't even remember.
You
I still fucked it up.
And so
And you changed it from 82 to 80?
Yeah, I made it closer to Nate.
This is fun for no one except for us because
and I'm like giggling. I'm like, I'm gonna guess closer.
I made you go first this time because I'm like, I'm going to do it in the 80s.
No,
We're so dumb.
I think that this weekend update was not particularly great. Not that it was bad. It was a higher point for the show. But compared to how good Weekend Update has been for this first wave of episodes so far, because I feel like it's been consistent, it's been really good each time. Here, Joe's punchlines in particular were not that great. Che's stuff I liked, and I think some of it is because he delivered it with the glass of whiskey,
Right,
and that he made it feel a lot more loose.
It was very dichotomous here,
Yeah.
right? Joseph's doing the jokes, and then Che's doing the commentary. They're still jokes, but he's doing a commentary about Trump's election.
Yeah.
And that's really all he's doing. He's still throwing in the 90s.
Still did, yeah, I know.
I don't like that
He didn't
anymore
do it
at
last
all.
time, this time, and now it's just like...
I really don't get it
it's
anymore.
over.
Like it's
over.
clearly just for him, and he doesn't give a shit. That's
Yeah.
fine, but it's just really weird. But no, overall, I thought that that the interaction, it was playful enough, and this and that.
Did you consider at all the curveball thrown with the Colin Jost and Michael Che stuff in the cold opening?
Well,
Oh yeah, was that? Did it? That don't? I can see it on your face. It did not affect the.
Because that was fun. I thought that
No,
was
it
one
was.
of the better parts
but
of the cold opening.
that's not Weekend Update, so...
Okay, whatever.
I know, but it's the two of them being fun.
Ego Wodum, a woman who can't find something in her purse. I okay.
Yeah,
I don't. Yeah, I mean,
it felt like an evergreen Weekend Update character that you could literally do anytime, and it's like, oh, all right.
But Willie, I'm really glad that they brought him. Like I was so
disappointed in Willie
now,
too.
Now,
Yeah, 'cause you
it wasn't the
usually
best.
love Willie.
It
Yeah.
wasn't the best version of it, but I still love some of the lines that he says. It's so dystopian, the things
No,
that
of
come out of
course.
his mouth, and
that's always the
funny.
funniest. That's always the funniest part. But like for me, it just didn't seem like it was worth it to bring him back because it's been a while since we've seen Willie.
And again, I think that though they were like this post-election, it's the nation needs to heal. Let's bring on my positive neighbor Will. Like that to me, I thought that it was appropriate to do it, and it was almost like, is Keenan leaving? Because they're bringing back one of the things they haven't done for like years.
yeah, I don't know. I think that's why it just felt weird because like if you're gonna bring him back, it should be a home run, and it didn't feel like
That's
a home
fair.
run.
No, that's fair. I still liked it.
I do wonder if these writers, these cast members, they're humans. They are clearly not Trump supporters. I wonder how hard of a week they had as well. I talked to a lot of my friends and a lot of people that like they didn't get a lot done on Wednesday. They didn't, and I wonder.
No, but
how
I mean,
much,
if you are truly very concerned with your political views and the way the country is going, it wouldn't have mattered if Trump would have lost. That side would have been sad as well.
Yep.
It's a very divisive time, but no matter who lost, that Wednesday for those people is bad. And so, yeah, those are very, very much liberal, Harris supporters that lost, and they're dealing with the real world ramifications of that. And it's hard to go to work the next day.
yeah, and you don't have a day you can just not.
Oh, especially with
When you're
SNL.
writing for
Yeah.
SNL, you have to, every day counts. But I wonder, just because it felt like some of this episode was incomplete to me. Like there was some incomplete sketches, and I don't know. We're idiots, and I don't want anybody to think
it just
that we
felt
know better than them.
way
but-
more disjointed than
Yep,
normal.
Yep, normal. Yep, exactly. All right, moving on. Bald guys. A couple's played by Mikey Day and Sarah Sherman date gets interrupted by a group of bald men played by Kenan Thompson, Bill Burr, James Austin Johnson, Andrew Dismukes, Bowen Yang, and Michael Longfellow,
and a bunch of bald dudes.
who sing about being bald.
What the fuck was this?
So this would have been okay if it
if it was 1994.
No, if it wasn't on the heels of a Mulaney musical.
that's true.
Because that's if you watch the first Mulaney musical, you're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
But it's funny. You give it time, right? This comes off the heels, so it seems absurd. But if you had nothing else to compare it to, I'm like, okay, this is really over the top and crazy. The fact that Mulaney just did something way more over the top last week, it's hard for me. I respect what they were trying to do here, though, because they went all out, which is what you normally love to see.
They did to a certain extent, but I also just don't like really. I didn't feel like it was funny enough to warrant
that
such
was
a
my thing is,
production.
they I was hoping that they would bring in some, I don't know, some things about bald people, right? That we'd be like, I never thought about that.
I was
right?
hoping for a Shaquille O'Neal cameo.
or get weirder, you know?
Something in there that's like, okay, what's going to be the thing that makes this? But it's just bald people singing.
For a sketch that is about a bunch of bald men doing a big musical dance number for no good reason, it doesn't get nearly weird enough other than just existing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was surprised because I anticipated that there would have been some kind of running commentary or reaction from Mikey Day and Sarah Sherman, but they're immediately just pushed to the side, and the only thing you see them doing is saluting towards the end.
And that's a fun little nod, but the whole thing is that the framework is they're on a date and nothing weird has happened.
Right.
They're just literally set pieces to get the thing going. That's it, right? It was weird.
Yeah, it just did not feel like it was worth the time or effort for what they did. It honestly felt like a sketch that should have been on All That.
yeah, sure, certainly, yeah.
With the exception of like how edgy they got with the pedophile joke, this could have been on All That.
Fair enough.
All right, moving on. Trauma support group. A guy played by Bowen Yang shares his trauma with his support group played by Bill Burr.
Bill Burr.
James Austin Johnson, Emil Wachim, Ashley Padilla, and Jane Wickline. Is this the one you guys loved?
So this is again it's like the SNL writers had to get together and they were like, what do we know about Bill Burr? Right? He is bald. Mm-hmm. He's from Boston. He definitely doesn't like the idea of therapy. He wants to be a man's man. And they wrote every single sketch in this episode try to tailor to who he is, and this is the result. They're going to make him play against type as a very effeminate therapist. That
he's like playing the counselor from Beavis and Butthead.
And it's just, again, the only funny thing here was when Bowen Yang puts a cigarette out on her.
Oh my God!
That's just because he almost broke.
Well, because Ashley Padilla's scream was shocking,
so loud, so loud.
No, and I saw people on Reddit be like, do you think Ashley Padilla got talked to after this episode for laughing? And I want to say,
no.
Bowen
was the one who broke first.
No
first.
Fucking way did she.
He and Bowen Yang breaks
was it talking
often.
Was it talking to her to say thanks for saving an otherwise middling
that's
sketch?
What I'm saying.
That was the funniest part.
Seriously.
The physical comedy between the two of them was great.
It was great.
So, and I will say the one thing that I was glad they did, because otherwise I was going to be like, what the fuck? Is they did have a joke for all those donuts. Because I was looking back there and I was like, why the fuck are there so many donuts?
Yeah.
And then thankfully they make them all disappear like he ate them, which is it's like, okay, fine. But otherwise, before it was distracting.
Because it was a stack of donuts.
A huge stack.
And they were just raw donuts on the table, not in boxes.
And there's just 5 people there.
So this is whatever. It was such a weird choice in a lot of ways. But, Bowen Yang sells everything he's in, so he was trying his best here. But again, it's just let's write something for Bill Burr. Oh, and let's do one where he's against type. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
All right, final one. I think this would be the 10-1 maybe. So I got one. Things go off the rails at a work dinner when a coworker's wife, played by Ashley Padilla, can't stop cracking bad jokes. This also features Bill Burr, Kenan Thompson, Heidi Gardner, Ego Wodum, and Bowen Yang. I liked this one.
I did too.
I really did. I thought it was pretty funny.
I do think the one problem is that it has is it doesn't give it to you in threes. You get 2 bad jokes.
Yeah.
They don't do it again. And I was expecting some kind of escalation to happen, like with the third one. And I don't know if maybe they had to cut it down for time what. Because it felt like it ended abruptly and without any real peak, but it's the premise is great. Ashley Padilla is really good.
I texted you guys about this. So she's the new Anna Gasteyer.
Yeah, and I didn't realize it until you said that, but like she really was 100% feeling like Anna Gasteyer.
It did. It felt like a early 2000s sketch to me with Anna Gasteyer.
Her and then Will Ferrell would be at the table.
Yeah,
and she's been fed up and like, why are you even with me? Like, because the joke being not funny is something that it's hard to deliver that knowing you're not going to get a laugh, right? But she does that flawlessly. But then the turn is like, why are you even with me? And then like escalation where she's going to get up and leave. And they're like, no. And she sits back down and it just becomes worse.
Yeah.
That was great. Like, honestly, a lot of good performance by her.
And that is a cast member that we haven't had in a while. Yes. Really. I mean, like, because again, every cast member has their own flair, their own abilities, their own, and she brought something there. I'm like, oh, I haven't seen that since Anna Gasteyer.
Like it was
that
really well done.
4 gorgeous dogs.
And so as soon as she starts telling the joke again, I thought, okay, this is going to be just a different joke, but that's how she starts all her jokes.
Exactly.
And then when it was the same one, I really started to
Yeah.
laugh. I was like, this is really funny. Especially they're cutting to all the now Keenan and all the characters like, and then what was it, Bone? He's like, what?
Yeah.
It's great. It's great.
So that is your episode for the night. Let's get into a little bit of let's go to favorite sketch of the night. What did you guys think was your favorite?
I mean, Buffalo Wild Wings was just better than the rest of them.
My favorite ended up being Rorschach, just because Buffalo Wild Wings wasn't as good as Sam Adams, and I appreciated Rorschach having that layer of actually showing the pictures. Bill Burr was good in it.
It's like whatever. Like it's only funny because of the pictures, though. There's nothing going on in that sketch besides the pictures.
Bill Burr was good in it, though.
You're wrong.
I am going to go with Cold Open because I thought.
Ooh. Have you ever voted for the Cold Open?
No,
before?
I haven't. But
I
only
think he did
because
once before.
I think this was really a hard moment, right, to meet, and there was I'm sure a lot of temptation to go, let's show Donald Trump winning, or let's show him doing something stupid, or let's show, and it was such a good. Wait a second, they're starting with the stage, and
right?
Like I don't know, I thought it was creative.
Yeah.
It was well done. All of the cast members hit their marks in that. I really
no, it was
enjoyed
very good. It was very
So,
good. I'll give that to you.
All right, MVP of the night. Who was your favorite cast member?
I think I'm actually going to give it to Bowen Yang.
Go on.
I thought he was the best cast.
Yeah, I get that. You got to explain your show.
Was
your
there a
work.
standout sketch for him?
Was it the therapy?
Huh?
Was that the therapy?
He was funny in therapy, even though the sketch wasn't that great. I also thought that his stuff in the cold open was actually really funny. Just his delivery and whatnot. There's something about like the sincerity to Donald Trump that just sounds more
Insane coming from him.
Yeah, exactly. But so yeah, I think so. I almost gave it to Ashley Padilla.
That's who I'm leaning towards.
Yeah.
Actually, only because I thought that sketch was a very. She has not had her moment yet.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, we're 6 episodes in, and she really hasn't
6. Yeah.
had that moment yet where some of the other cast members got their time, and she really came forward. And to be fair, too, I gave it to her because it wasn't a great episode, and there wasn't a lot of competition.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Dismukes probably for me.
Okay,
He was a real workhorse. He did a lot in a lot of sketches.
he wrote a
And
couple.
in Snakeskin or whatever that was. Man, it's just so fun to watch him because again, that's something where he really thrives in that environment of being just the wacky guy playing it seriously, just like the ukulele bit from the last weekend. I really like him. He is becoming instead of just being like, oh, if he's going to be in it, it's going to be a little wacky. He's going to bring his own energy to it. That's going to change what I think about the sketch in general.
Yeah.
I'm loving seeing him more and more.
All right, that is your episode. We'd love to hear from you. What was your favorite sketch of the night? Add it to the comments of our Facebook or on Twitter. Let us know. Or if you're watching or listening to this podcast on YouTube, we'd love to know what your favorite sketch of the night was and who your MVP cast member was. Brad, what do we have coming up? I think we have a new episode next week.
We do. November 16th will be hosted by Charlie XCX, who's also pulling musical guest host duties. So we got a twofer. And I think, like I said last week, I don't really know what to expect because I don't know what her personality is, whether she has good comedic skills or, what the deal is, like what it was that like made it Lauren Michaels and company think, oh yeah, she can definitely pull double duty out of the gate.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm excited. I want to see. I always somebody that I don't know much about. I always want them to succeed. So like, let's bring it on, Charlie XCX.
I genuinely know nothing.
I know nothing
about them. And then they don't have any more announced. I assume they'll have 3. I think they've got a schedule. December 7th is the next one after that.
Yeah.
But they don't have anything announced yet. And usually they have 3 December episodes. So I assume that's what they'll have there. And we'll be back for those. But yeah, it's usually by now they've announced those. So I'm expecting in the next couple of days we'll get the list of who's coming in December.
Who do you think, Brad? Who do you think? Who do you want?
Who do I think? I feel like they could maybe get Paul Mescal. because he's going to be in Gladiator 2.
Yeah, as I say, film guy, who's our big movies? What are our big movies coming out?
They could get Dwayne Johnson because Red 1 and Moana 2 are this holiday season.
I mean, he is a seminal pick, right?
Yeah.
It's like, when is he gonna come back?
That'd be fun. Getting J.K. Simmons because of Red 1 also could be fun.
Yeah.
That could be pretty cool.
Or the polar bear.
Yeah, let's get the polar bear from Red 1.
Pablo, was that his name?
Yeah, Pablo cut in half polar bear.
Yeah, man. Classic.
That movie's gonna be great.
So I don't that would be fun.
Yeah. All right, fair enough.
All right. Well, if you want to follow along with us on our other podcasts, you can go to goflixyourself.com or just search Go Flix Yourself on wherever podcasts are found. And we talk about movies and have a good time, just, joshing around. And we always update those episodes probably more frequently than this because we only do this when there's new episodes. So if you just want to hang out with us. Or if we decide
to do a filler, which we'll figure something out for the holiday hiatus, something fun to do.
Holiday hiatus?
We have some more SNL movies we haven't watched yet.
Okay, well, we can just end it there.
All right. Well, we're going to end here. Real quick, Brad, where can people find you?
Oh, you can find me at slashfilm.com where I post full reviews of new episodes the morning after the episode. You can check those out there before you even hear this podcast, and maybe you'll get a little insight into what's coming in this episode. Spoiler alert. And you can also find me on Twitter at Ethan_Anderton. And also, I've done a little bit of a shift over to the Blue Sky because there has been quite an exodus, even more so since the election, from Twitter, of people being like, I think I'm done here.
I tried to get a Blue Sky account and it wouldn't let me register, so I gave up. I went to Threads.
That's why the Democrats lost the election, Nate.
I tried.
Because he tried once. And then he gave up.
I thought, I'm going to do Blue Sky. I'm going to do Threads. Why don't you go over to Threads with me?
I'm good.
All right. Well, again, be good to yourself. Be good to others. We'll be back soon. Bye-bye.